Can you beat Super Smash Bros. Melee's adventure mode, Blindfolded? That's the title of the video you just clicked on, and that's the question that I, YCZ, set out to answer back in January of 2021. I did have some experience playing without looking at the screen. Back in college, we used to play 2v2 matches with one blindfolded teammate holding the controller, years before Smash Summit ran a side event with the same concept. Blindfolded speedrunning is a popular subgenre nowadays too, and games much longer and more precise than Melee have been completed in impressive time without sight. However, as any player of the franchise can tell you, Melee is a very chaotic game. Lots of things can happen at any given moment, and being able to complete it blind would require lots of study, practice, deep game knowledge, and a firm dedication to the pursuit of what is admittedly a pretty ridiculous thing to try to do. So, here's the story of my journey to beating Super Smash Bros. Melee's adventure mode, Blindfolded. If you've never played Melee, or if you've only played on emulator with cheats and never had to unlock Luigi by hand, Adventure Mode is a long series of platforming sequences and fights themed after the universes of the game's characters. While Melee's competitive single-player scene traditionally focuses on target test and home run contest, speedrunning of Adventure Mode did see a surge of interest a few years back, and that was the mode that I chose to run. At the time, I didn't know whether anyone had attempted Blindfolded Adventure Mode before. I decided not to look it up. I wanted to see if I could come up with all the strategies myself, and also didn't want to pressure myself to compete against a specific time. I decided to play on the very easy difficulty and take 5 lives because, well, I'm not that much of a masochist, and I chose Marth as the character I would use. I'd like to say that this was the result of a sophisticated decision-making process where I evaluated all the characters against all the stages, but no, I basically just thought, oh, Marth have big sword, forward smash, unga bunga, and that was about as far as I got. So, with those decisions made, I started to dive into coming up with some strategies. The first stage in the game is Mushroom Kingdom, a long platforming challenge modeled after 2D Mario games. While navigating through this gauntlet of obstacles and enemies might seem like a challenge, it actually isn't so bad for a couple of reasons. First of all, the level itself is very straightforward. It's a totally linear level, so generally speaking, holding right and jumping occasionally will make you progress. None of the enemies pose any threat on the very easy difficulty. This includes the team of Yoshis 2/3 of the way through, who all die in one hit and rarely attack you. The only tricky segment is the water section in the middle, where there are lots of enemies and you can actually die off the bottom, but there are enough platforms in the air that it's pretty easy to plan a route through the area. The second thing that makes Mushroom Kingdom, and in fact, Adventure Mode as a whole, easier to do blindfolded than you might think, is a tool that's not available to blindfolded players of many other games, Rumble. While sound is, of course, the main way to tell what's going on in the game, Rumble actually does help a ton, as events like walking, running, landing, grabbing a ledge, and hitting or getting hit by an enemy will all cause your controller to shake in a distinct manner. Most helpful for blindfolded play is the feedback on running. Since the vibration stops whenever you run into a wall or off a platform, it's pretty easy to track your progress as long as you're familiar with the layout of the stage. This is especially helpful in Mushroom Kingdom, as there are many short walls throughout the stage for Marth to bump into. After reaching the end of the stage, we encounter the first real fight of the run, a 1v2 against Mario and Peach. While the CPU opponents can act unpredictably, many will always do the same thing at the start of the fight, allowing you to KO them consistently right off the bat. There's actually a speedrunning term that describes this method of exploiting the initial conditions of the fight to kill an enemy quickly. It's called a quick kill. In our case, at the beginning of the fight, Peach will always jump directly at Marth. This lets you grab, down throw, and start charging a forward smash. Peach will helpfully jump into this at a consistent timing. This will also be the first instance in the run of an audio cue. If you release Marth's forward smash right after Peach makes that weird sound, the F smash will consistently tip her and kill. After this, you just have to deal with Mario, and while I haven't yet found a consistent way to kill him quickly, it's generally pretty easy to just hit him to the left repeatedly until he dies. With Mushroom Kingdom out of the way, we move on to Kongo Jungle. The next fight against two small gorillas is the first reason I chose to leave music on for the run, even though it sometimes obscures other sounds. By timing an up smash to release right between the go and so in the DK wrap, Marth can consistently hit and KO both Kongs in a single thrust. The timing here is admittedly pretty lenient, so you could probably do this strategy pretty easily without the help of the song, but every little bit of consistency helps when you're trying to do something as ridiculous as this run. Next up, we find another DK who's bigger, faster, and stronger too. Sadly, none of these attributes is much use to him, as he jumps directly into a fully charged neutral B and dies. Stage 3, Hyrule, is the area I was most dreading going into planning. The first half, Underground Maze, is the most complicated stage in the entire game, a cavernous dungeon crawl teeming with enemies. There are 6 event rooms scattered across the stage. 5 of them contain a sword which summons an enemy Link to fight you, and 1, chosen randomly, contains a Triforce which ends the stage. Normally, you can see the object in the middle of a room as you walk up to it and can skip past a Link fight by avoiding touching the ground inside the room. I, of course, did not have this option available to me, which meant I had to plan out a route that traversed the entire level and passed through all of the rooms, potentially fighting anywhere between 0 and 5 Links along the way. Here's how it goes. From the starting location, I run right, drop down, and run left to the first room. If this isn't the Triforce room, I fight the Link, run back to the right, drop down to the floor of the main room, run across to the right, jump up to this ledge. I said jump up to this ledge, run right, and drop down into the next room. If this isn't the Triforce room, I fight the Link, then run to the right until I hit a wall, jump up to the left, jump up to the left, jump up to the left, and then enter the next room. If this isn't the Triforce room, I fight the Link, then run to the left until I hit a wall, jump up to the left, jump up to the right, and enter the next room. If this still isn't the Triforce room, I fight the Link, run to the right until I hit a wall, hopefully avoid this like, jump up to the left, and eventually enter the next room. And if this still isn't the Triforce room, then I complain to my stream chat, fight the Link, then run to the left, roll to the edge of the platform, jump to the left and grab this ledge that I bet you didn't know about, ledge jump again to the left, walk down these stairs, and enter the final room. If we've made it this far, then this, at last, must be the Triforce room. The funny thing is, if I were going for an optimized speedrun, all of this preparation would be totally unnecessary. I would just enter the first room, and if that wasn't the Triforce room, I would just quit out of the run and start over. This is what most runners of non-blindfolded adventure mode do when going for records, since a run that doesn't get the best outcome is doomed anyway. So, in a way, the fact that I didn't care about speed actually ended up making planning this stage out harder. While Underground Maze was the level I was most worried about coming in, the stage that ended up becoming my nightmare was actually the second half of the Hyrule section, the fight against Zelda. Unlike the previous fights, there isn't a consistent quick kill setup on Zelda, and she's beefy enough that it takes more than one lucky hit to kill her. The fight also takes place on Hyrule Temple, the largest stage in the game, and worst of all, if certain items spawn anywhere on the stage, Zelda will abandon the fight to go grab them. This can lose upwards of 20 seconds as Zelda slowly ambles across the map, goes to grab a Pokeball, watches it disappear, and then slowly makes her way back. Wait for it. In the end, the best strategy I came up with was to get a couple of quick hits in at the beginning of the fight, then try to corral Zelda into the upper right section of the stage, and eventually kill her off the right side. With good luck, the fight could end within 10 seconds. If she ever ended up escaping, I would just sit and up tilt in place until her return. This would hopefully eventually work, and I would be able to move on to the next stage. After dispatching Zelda, we move on to Zebes, or Zebus, to fight my main, Samus. Finding a quick kill here took a little while, but it turns out there's a pretty easy one. Quickly do a charged neutral B to the left, and then do another one right away. The strategy is consistent, but if for some reason you screwed up somehow, it could turn messy, as Samus is heavy and not very prone to approaching, and the stage's layout is a bit confusing if you can't see. Good thing the strategy is so simple, and there's no way that would ever happen. The next stage is Escape from Brinstar, a timed vertical platforming section. This area was my downfall as a kid, but approaching it methodically it isn't so bad. The platforms in the scary sections of the level are positioned fairly conveniently for Marth, as he can up B up the first portion, then double jump up B up the second half, and make it all the way to the top. This certainly isn't the fastest possible method, even blindfolded, but it does finish with plenty of time to spare, and for the time being I was happy to have a consistent strategy. Next up is Green Greens, where we have to fight everyone's favorite spherical pink top tier, Kirby. The first fight is very easy, as the CPU seemingly has not studied Kirby's hitboxes and tries to swallow you just a little bit outside of his own range. Next is a fight against 15 Kirbys, all with different stylish hats. Just like in the earlier Yoshi fight, all the Kirbys are very dumb and also die in one hit, so despite their number and variety, they go down easily. However, if you kill Team Kirby in under 30 seconds, you face Giant Kirby, which is much tougher. While he will usually die to a tipper forward smash fairly quickly, I couldn't find a consistent setup, and so I ultimately decided to just wait out the 30 seconds against Team Kirby instead. I used another musical cue to do this. The last high note of this rising section occurs right at 30 seconds into the match. On to Corneria. Our first fight is against Fox. I spent a while trying to figure out a timing cue for landing a tipper forward smash as he walks forward, but eventually discovered a much funnier, more consistent alternate strategy. I walk forward and up B Fox to the left. Fox will choose to recover onto the ship's gun. If I then stand on the very left edge of the stage, Fox will jump out, try to up B, miss the ledge entirely, and fall to his doom. While this run does use a lot of AI manipulation, this is the only stage where the CPU actually just straight up jumps to its death. So, strategy explained, on to the next, right? Well, actually there's more to this stage than it appears. While I was recording this video and trying to get footage, I noticed that my strategy actually wasn't working. After getting hit by my up B, Fox would do his up B from further away and actually make it onto this stage. This happened over and over each time I reloaded my save state, and I was extremely confused. My strategy that had worked 100% of the time in testing, and also in my actual runs, suddenly wasn't working. Eventually I tried reloading a save state from an earlier stage and playing back to Corneria, and after a couple of attempts I was able to get the footage that you saw earlier. So why does this happen? Here's my best guess. The entire stage of Corneria actually moves around during fights. It's generally hard to notice because the camera is based on the positions of the characters who move along with the stage, but throwing items that freeze in midair lets you see the motion. I believe that the strategy I was using to kill Fox was actually dependent on the staged movement, and that this movement is not deterministic, which would mean that coming into the fight the same strategy would not always work. However, if you were to repeatedly reload the same save state from right before the fight as I did during practice, you would get consistent results, as the game's RNG seed would always be at the same value. This is why I thought the strategy was consistent, as I always used the same save state to practice my runs, and also why I consistently couldn't get it to work in recording, as I kept reloading a state with the same bad RNG. Alright, enough of that. Let's move on to the second half of Corneria. The gimmick of this fight is that the R-Wings on the stage are much more active, so there are lasers and explosions flying all over the place, which makes it extra dangerous. However, this time, the same walk forward and up B kills Fox outright due to him having a lower handicap, so the stage hazards never come into play. So, strategy explained, on to the next, right? Well, there's actually a little bit more to it. If you were paying attention at the beginning of the video, you may have noticed that I didn't have all the characters in the game unlocked, only the starting characters and Marth. This stage is the first place this comes into play. If you have Falco unlocked, there's a 50% chance that you fight him instead of Fox. Instead, we use a save file without Falco, which lets us guarantee a rematch against Fox, which simplifies our planning. On to Pokemon Stadium. The lack of unlocked characters comes into play again immediately. Only Pikachus will appear in this stage, where it is possible for Pichus and Jigglypuff to spawn if they are unlocked. To be honest, I don't think they actually make the stage much harder, but having only one AI behavior to deal with does make it easier to tell what's going on. This stage does carry a small risk, as lots of Pokeballs spawn and can be grabbed and used by the enemy team, but on very easy, the computer opponents are pretty dumb and don't aggressively go for them. Alright, it's finally time for everyone's favorite adventure mode stage, Big Blue. While it might just look like a long stretch of holding forward, followed by some fairly simple jumps, the stage has been home to some of the most entertaining strategies in single-player Melee. For our Marth run, I start off by running forward. When the first wave of cars comes, I intentionally get hit twice, crouch canceling the second hit to survive, and continue running. Using Rumble to react to when I leave the ground, I jump onto a mid-air platform, grab the ledge on the next one, and then use a few rolls to line myself up. I then charge neutral B to prevent myself from crouching, hold down to DI, and let the next wave of cars hit me. Touching the ground here puts me in an actionable state in the air, which prevents me from dying off the side when I fly off it upwards and to the right. From here, there's a few ways to finish the stage. The simplest strategy is to just jump or forward B to get back onto the track. However, I decided to go for the strategy of using Marth's down B counter to block the damage from the cars and then fall down to the track. This is neither easier nor faster than the other strategies, I just thought it looked cool. Up next is Captain Falcon. The first quick kill setup that I found was this up throw to reverse tipper forward smash, which does look very sick, but after some practice I decided the timing was too strict to go for in a full run. I eventually found the still pretty sick looking strategy of down throwing and immediately charging a neutral B, which hits Falcon after he bounces off the Mute City track. We travel next to Onett to bully these three young boys out of their lunch money. The best strategy I found here was to jump up onto the house at the start of the fight and try to land as many grabs and down throws as possible, which will kill the Nesses in one hit. This isn't super consistent though, and it's easy to get dislodged from this position and end up off track. In addition, the stage spawns a lot of Mr. Saturn items, and like Zelda, if you take too long, the Nesses have a tendency to wander off and chase them around. Fortunately, the Nesses also have a tendency to wander into traffic, and will often die to the cars in a single hit, so this stage generally doesn't end up being too much of a sticking point. Icicle Mountain is the last platforming section of the run, and it's a bit different from the others. There isn't really a way to save or lose time on most of the stage, as your only task is to survive until you reach the fight against the Ice Climbers foursome at the top. I did try coming up with a music-based timing method to make it all the way to the top, but eventually decided to just figure out how to survive long enough to where I could die and ride the Angel platform up to the Ice Climbers. The fight against the Ices itself can also be a little bit sketchy. With my just die and pray strategy, I had no idea what the stage would even look like when I made it to the fight, let alone where exactly I was on the stage. So the extent of my strategy was basically try to grab them and up throw off the top. In practice runs, this actually seemed to work okay, but this was definitely my least rehearsed stage going into the actual runs. Next up in Battlefield, the penultimate stage is the team wireframe fight. As with the previous team fights, the wireframes are not very bright and go down easily, and the main difficulty is just finding all of them to kill them. Since they spawn directly above the top platform, I found it pretty consistent and fast to just stand up there and up tilt. Next we have Metal Mario, who hopefully falls down and dies to a single hit. If we had Luigi unlocked here, we would have to fight both of the Mario Brothers instead. Yet another reason we only unlocked one character before the run. The final fight of the run is against an abnormally large Bowser. Bowser tends to spend much of the fight walking slowly towards us, which lets us hit him with a fully charged neutral B at the start of the fight. However, the weight advantage we've had over every other enemy in the run no longer applies here, as Bowser takes quite a beating, so the fight isn't just done after one hit. My overall strategy is basically just to swing at Bowser repeatedly, build up damage, and try to get him off stage for a kill, all while hoping to avoid bad luck with item spawns. So there you go. That is how you beat Adventure Mode Blindfolded. It's a lot to remember for sure, but I've played this game for over 16 years, and I was feeling pretty confident about my ability to at least complete a run. However, before I could kick off the attempts, I would encounter one final surprise. While I was labbing out strategies on stream one day, my Samus brother and all-time #1 sub Barden popped into the chat. It turned out that he and fellow Samus tech lord Mervis had actually worked on Blindfolded Adventure Mode before, and Mervis had actually completed a run with Jigglypuff all the way back in 2018. In addition, I found out that there was a leaderboard for the category on speedrun.com with 2 entries already in the books, not including Mervis's for whatever reason. I was disappointed to find out that I wasn't going to be the first one to complete the category. In fact, I wouldn't even be the first one to do it with Marth, as the current official world record holder, Hesh, had used Marth as well. Nevertheless, I sought to continue on with the run. After putting so much work into planning, I wanted to see the endeavor through. With being a trailblazer no longer in the picture, I sought the next best thing, to claim the world record. 15.5 minutes seemed like a very achievable goal, and a few weeks later, I booted up the stream, put a beanie on over my face, and kicked off my first run. The first run started off fairly smoothly, though I did get a bit lost in Mushroom Kingdom when I took an unexpected bounce off a Koopa Paratroopa. Where the fuck am I? The rest of the first stage and the Mario and Peach fight were fairly uneventful. Nice. I missed the initial DK rap music cue, but luckily landed another up smash right away, and then took out Giant DK easily. In Underground Maze, I lost my first stock when the second Link happened to pick up a hammer. Oh, come on. I then got lost and a little beat up on my way to the third room, but didn't get too unlucky and finished it there. Okay. Wait, okay, something up. Hopefully that bomb is not over here. Okay, fine, whatever, I'll take it. The dreaded Zelda fight actually went fairly well, despite some confusion on my part. There was a nice clutch moment where I realized Zelda had gotten past me and confirmed a Nair to F-smash combo off the wall of the pillar. She should be on the right. Oh, I hear a Starman. She's going to try and get that. Wow, okay, that went really well. The Samus fight and escape from Brinstar passed without any incident. The Kirby fight took a strange turn when Kirby just happened to bounce off a falling star block. Wait, what happened? Did he hit a block or something? Usually he's supposed to die to that. Can you not? He swallowed me? Oh god, I don't know where I am. Oh, that killed? Wow. The Team Kirby fight took a bit of a strange turn. I killed the 14th Kirby right at the 14-second mark as planned, but the final Peach Hat Kirby made an insane series of miraculous dodges to drag the fight on for another 40 seconds, even taking one of my stocks along the way. Where are you? What? He's over here, right? I don't know what's going on exactly. It's Peach Kirby. I know that. Okay, I died off the right side, I guess? Dude, what is he doing? Why can't I find him? What the f- This has never happened before. Alright, Jesus Christ. Corneria went as planned, thanks to the good yet-to-be-discovered RNG. The Team Pikachu fight went smoothly as well, in a twist that was amusing to watch after the fact. A Togepi actually made the screen dark at one point, to which I was completely oblivious. Big Blue went absolutely perfectly, and gave me a nice clip of the car damage boost strategy to post to Twitter. Oh, I actually got it. Sick. Nice. I choked a bit and forgot my strategy against Falcon, but was able to finish the fight in about 20 seconds anyway. Team Ness went pretty much perfectly. 3 straight down throws without getting hit gave me an amazing sub-7 second fight. Wow, that was really good. Icicle Mountain went well enough. I executed the SD strategy as planned, and while the final ice climber eluded me for a little bit, I did close the fight out easily enough. Nice, okay. The final wireframe took a while to track down. I think there's one left. I don't know where it is. Hello? What? Okay, what's going on? What? It was just standing there? And Metal Mario fell quickly, as expected. This left only Bowser. Computer's doing something. Wait, what? What did it do? Bowser, what are you doing? Bowser has a bunny hood? Do I like that? That might be good, actually. It means it falls faster. Well, it also jumps higher. Picked up a warp star. I think it worked. What? I'm getting lipsticked? Oh, does he have a metal box? Is that sound is? Oh, that's just how he sounds normally? I don't even remember. Where am I? Okay, I'm not that close to the ledge. Oh, he's dead. Oh, that's time, right? I can split it. 1401. Hey, that's the world record. That was easy. As it turned out, I was able to complete my quest for the world record in record pace, finishing it in just a single run. I hadn't expected this at all. Though I did think the record was very beatable, I expected to have to do at least a few runs before getting it. Having just started the stream, and with the first run jitters out of the way, I figured I may as well kick off another attempt. In my second run, I somehow again got lost at the water section in Mushroom Kingdom due to bouncing off an enemy unexpectedly. Kill the... Oh, I landed on the Goomba, I guess? Wait, no, that was the Goomba. Wait. Okay, I actually don't know where I am now. I ended up losing quite a bit of time on Mario and Peach due to losing Mario for a bit, but executed my plan smoothly for the next several stages. I made up that lost time to a massive degree on stage 3, first getting a perfect underground maze, and then following that up with an amazing 9-second kill against Zelda. Don't ruin this for me, Zelda. Oh, wow. That was actually almost perfect. However, I then proceeded to give back almost all the time gained by forgetting what the next stage was, failing to do the neutral B against Samus, and then fumbling around for a good 80 seconds while she jumped around the stage. Needless to say, I was not pleased. Oh my god. I just lost all the time I gained from the maze. Escape from Brinstar went smoothly, Kirby went down even after I slightly messed up the strategy, and Team Kirby went better than last time, though the last Kirby did still evade me for a good 10 seconds. Okay, where are you? Where is he? There we go. Corneria again luckily went smoothly, and the Pikachu team didn't stand a chance. Big Blue didn't go so perfectly this time, as I mistimed the counter and died to the cars, but I was able to respawn at the end of the stage and finished the stage quickly enough. I did the correct strategy on Captain Falcon this time though, and so I ended up saving about 15 seconds on stage 8 overall. The Nesses didn't cooperate quite as well this time around and took about 30 seconds to kill, which still wasn't too bad by my expectations. In Icicle Mountain, I got very confused when I got hit by a shell near the beginning and forgot that red shells were a thing. Jump up here when the piano thing hits. Wait, what? What happened? Oh god, I have no idea where I am. I hope I'm in a reasonable location. How did a shell hit me? Still, I made it to the ice climbers using only the one stock, and despite some unlucky positioning, was able to take them out, losing only 9 seconds on the segment. Battlefield again went by without a hitch, and soon enough, it was time for my rematch against Bowser. Would things go better for me this time? Oh god, Meryl's actually really scary. Should be to the right. Okay, I think I got that. Yeah, I'm not making the sounds. Oh, he made it back? That was a tipper, wasn't it? He got a food, it sounds like. Food is fine. It's really bad when he gets a heart container. Am I dying? Where am I? Okay, I died. God, there's a Blossom. There's another Pokemon. What is that? Wait, I don't... Oh, that was Bowser taunting. Is that unknown? Wait. Oh god, I'm asleep. Oh god, what's happening? Where is he? He landed on the stage. Time. Oh god, dude, my glasses got all fogged up. 12:47, wow, okay. Even with the Samus massive choke, that was faster. Oh, god. With my second run, I had beaten my first and lowered the world record once again. The final time would end up being 12 minutes and 44.5 seconds, over a minute and a half faster than the next fastest time, after Mervis's run was retroactively added to the leaderboard, and that's where the record stands today. Or so I thought. On May 14th, 2021, I sent a draft of this video to popular Smash YouTuber Practical Test to get some feedback. He gave me some good news and some bad news. The good news was that I was correct about Corneria, that the motion of the ship during matches was in fact random. Nice. The bad news was that my world record was not, in fact, the world record. Back in December of 2020, blindfolded speedrunning specialist Bubzia had completed a run with Jigglypuff in 12 minutes and 25 seconds, almost 20 seconds faster than my run. The reason I never found out about this was because he had never submitted it to the speedrun.com leaderboards. This was a huge blow to my morale and low-key ruined the rest of my day. Instead of working more on editing this video like I had planned, I ended up moping around and feeling sorry for myself for several hours. Eventually, though, I resolved to get back on the grind and try to take the record for real. After all, with only 2 attempts under my belt, there was bound to be plenty of time to save. Since then, the story of this category has taken several more turns, including strategy changes, new rules for the speedrun, and multiple new world records. More, indeed, than I feel up to putting in this one video. So the rest of the story will have to wait for another day, when things have settled down more. I had a very different ending planned for this video, as I'm sure you can imagine, and I'm sure this one will be disappointing to those of you that wanted more closure, but sometimes things just don't work out that way. Rest assured, though, that I plan to cover all of those developments, and any more that happen in the near future, in another video, so stay tuned. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. I've been YCZ6, and have a good one.